Amaka stands in her Ikoyi compound, the last mortgage paper curling in the fire, and the whole building cheers. Before the ash cools, Ngozi walks in with two elders and a plastic folder, saying the duplex is family property. Amaka stays calm. She brings out her file, neat receipts, bank alerts, builder invoices. Ngozi smiles and pulls a brown sheet, a customary allocation letter, stamped and shiny. Tenants lean over balconies. Phones come out. Someone starts a live video. Voices rise, cousins argue, an uncle bangs a walking stick. Amaka does not shout. She goes to the land registry and files a caveat so no one can touch the title. 2 days later, a family meeting fills the sitting room. Chairs scrape, sweat beads, everyone talks at once. Then the front door opens and a registrar from the land registry steps in with the official folio. The room goes silent. He reads the owner's name. It is Amaka. He holds up Ngozi's letter and points to the file number on it. It belongs to a different plot. He shows the signature. It does not match. He states the obvious. The document is fake. Heads turn to Ngozi. Someone asks who got the letter made. The registrar says the trail leads to a man. He says the name. It is Ngozi's husband. Half the room gasps. The other half starts asking for forgiveness. Amaka thanks the registrar, collects her folio, and walks him out while the tenants clap from the balconies. Nana Ajoa works in a small room filled with screens and spreadsheets. She clicks the final button and the mortgage app shows 0. She laughs, picks up her keys, and that afternoon her friends come for a housewarming. Music plays, food is passed, and Nana opens the gate for everyone with a proud smile. The next morning, she finds bright stickers stuck all over the gate reading Family Estate No Trespass. Her sister-in-law Efua stands there like she owns the place, and behind her is an uncle whose chest is full of old stories. He says the land was a gift to the sons, not the daughters, and he dismisses Nana as just a wife with no claim. People come to look. The neighbors whisper. Someone films Efua slapping another sticker on the wall and posts it to social media. Nana does not yell. She puts her phone down, breathes, and moves like a woman who knows numbers. She calls her lawyer and asks for a full forensic audit of the stamp duty and transfer trail. The auditor pulls every receipt, every stamp, and every payment a civil servant ever recorded. It takes 2 long nights and coffee, but the trail is clean. The payments match Nana. The receipts match the documents with her name. Nana then gets a surprise letter. The Lands Commission wants to see her right away. At the meeting, officials open a big book of maps and ask Efua to show the plot number she keeps shouting about. Efua points and the room goes quiet while someone looks it up on the cadastre. The official reads the number, then looks again, then says the strangest thing. That plot number belongs to a cemetery outside town. A cemetery with a wall and headstones and prayers. Cameras in the room start to buzz as phones record the faces of people who have been coaching Efua. The story spreads that the claim was never about family honor. It was a scheme, a pattern of lies used by a small ring that sells other people the right to land that is not theirs to sell. Social media explodes. Neighbors send in videos of Efua meeting men in cars. The uncle who spoke first goes quiet when records show he signed papers for other land 2 towns away. In a final twist, the Lands Commission files charges and warns homeowners to check their documents. Nana stands by her gate, a little tired, but she watches young couples get keys from her hands as she announces a community watch group to help others check titles. The housewarming she threw becomes a sign of victory, and the stickers on the gate end up in a police report. Zawadi had paid for that Niali bungalow with years of night shifts and overtime, and the day she finally held the clear title she felt a quiet kind of joy. She kept that joy to herself when her sister-in-law Halima arrived with an imam and several clan heads and announced, loud and public, that coastal custom made the house communal. Halima spoke fast, names and claims tumbling out, and neighbors came to watch because people love a family fight. Zawadi listened. She did not shout. She had something stronger than words. At home she had a Sharia-compliant gift deed from her mother, a clean legal paper saying the house was given to her, not to the clan. She also had a bank release showing the mortgage lien had been cleared. Those two pieces of paper meant everything. Halima tried to act as if ceremonies and prayers could rewrite what was on the title. She changed the locks one night and sat at the gate with women praying, candles and rugs, saying no one would enter because it was now for the whole lineage. The scene went on for hours and a neighbor set up his phone and a small crowd watched the live stream grow. Zawadi left, calm, and called her lawyer. The lawyer spoke in short sharp words, "We file, we go to court, and we bring the bailiffs if needed." They moved quickly. A court issued an ex parte order the next morning because the situation was urgent and someone was blocking access to private property. Zawadi came back with court bailiffs, a locksmith, and friends carrying phones ready to film. The bailiffs read the judge's order out loud at the gate while neighbors streamed everything to viewers who left shocked messages. Halima tried to argue with the bailiffs but the papers were clear. The locksmith fitted a new lock under the watch of the imam who had led the sit-in and he looked ashamed when the legal documents were shown. People who had gathered watched the bailiffs hand the keys back to Zawadi and heard the reading of the Sharia deed and the bank lien release. A few of the clan heads muttered apologies in the crowd. The live stream blew up and strangers sent messages of support and advice. Zawadi did not gloat. She walked into her home and thanked the bailiffs quietly. Later, she sat with Halima and a mediator from the community and explained the gift deed again, pointing at the words and dates. There was a hush, then a small, awkward apology, and a plan to respect the legal papers and the family's feelings going forward. Zawadi turned the whole sharp moment into something firm but simple. She kept her home, she kept her dignity, and she used the law to protect what belonged to her. Keza had drawn every line of that house in Cairo herself, checked each brick, and paid for most of it with money she saved from long client jobs and late nights drafting plans, so when the walls rose and the roof went on she felt proud and a little relieved. Then Clarice walked in on a busy Saturday, waving a folded paper and a stern face, saying her marriage contribution meant she owned half the house. People stopped. Neighbors watched from balconies. Keza stayed calm and asked to see the paper, and where others would have snapped, she pulled out something better. She opened her phone and showed time-stamped mobile money ledgers that matched contractor invoices and materials receipts. The ledgers had dates and amounts that lined up with every builder payment. They showed the money left her account and reached the builder. Keza let the numbers do the talking. Clarice did not stop at claims. She started a smear campaign online, posting messages that called Keza a thief and an outsider who used her husband to steal family property. The posts spread fast because social feeds like drama. Keza felt the hurt but she knew the law. She sued for defamation and for quiet title so the courts would say finally who owned the land. The case moved steady. Keza wanted more than a win. She wanted to change the story. For the house opening she invited the whole local council and a crowd. She named the new project not after herself but after her grandmother, someone the whole neighborhood loved, and announced a community library that would be built beside the home. The idea was simple and smart. People who had been unsure came to the groundbreaking and they saw families, children, and elders listening to Keza talk about books and schoolwork and safety. Clarice came too, hoping to shout and make a scene. Instead she was handed court papers. A judge had already ruled against her online lies in the defamation suit and ordered Clarice to pay damages and to publish a clear apology. The papers were served at the site, in front of the crowd, and phones recorded the moment. The apology had to be honest and it named the false claims. The damages were not huge, but they were public and they mattered. Faces on the street changed. People who had shared the smear removed posts and wrote messages of support for Keza. The council promised to speed the library permits. Keza did not celebrate loudly. She stood at the edge of the new plot, watched children run with books she had ordered, and felt something settle. She had used clear records, quiet legal work, and the force of a generous plan to turn a mean claim into a gift for the whole neighborhood, and in the end that gave her the best answer to the noise. Folklore stood at her gate just after sunrise, the last bank stamp still warm on the paper that said her mortgage was paid in full, and for the first time in years she felt light. She invited a few friends for tea, walked barefoot on the lawn, and breathed in the quiet of a home finally hers. By dusk the quiet was gone. Ronk arrived with loud music, pots on fire, and half the neighborhood laughing as if there had been an invitation. She marched into the compound, threw open the back door, and announced that the house would now include extended family quarters. Guests were given cushions on the veranda and strangers were shown rooms. Folklore did not shout. She took pictures instead, careful and steady, photographing each person who crossed the threshold, every plate set on her table, every mattress laid on her floor. Her phone filled with images and short videos, time-stamped and clear. When Ronk started to brag that the Mogaji supported her, people went quiet because the Mogaji's word carried weight in the area. Folklore did not panic. She called her lawyer, then went to the police station and made an official entry in the station diary so there would be a record of trespass. Back home she bought simple security cameras and had them installed where she could watch the gate and the lawn. The cameras recorded men unloading furniture, a woman handing out printed receipts, and Ronk smiling as coins passed from hands to hands. Folklore kept working her day job, but in the evening she turned the evidence into files and showed them to the station sergeant and to a conveyancer who read her documents and nodded. The conveyancer produced a governor's consent, a clear piece of paper that said the land and house were legally hers, and Folklore added the camera footage to her stack of photos. When the case reached a magistrate, something shifted. One by one, the people Ronk had called her supporters began to speak. A young couple admitted they had paid Ronk small sums to let them stay for the night, until they found a place. A man who had carried a sofa confessed he had given Ronk money to hold the room and had been told it was a favor. Their testimonies were simple and plain. They said Ronk charged them to squat. Those words mattered in court. The magistrate listened to the police diary entry, watched the security camera clips, and read the governor's consent. The combination of sworn statements, time-stamped photos, and official papers made a strong criminal trespass case. Ronk's earlier claim of community need fell apart when the people she had used as proof said they were customers, not witnesses to family tradition. The judge ordered the trespassers to leave, fined Ronk, and instructed the police to pursue the criminal charge. Outside the courthouse, neighbors who had cheered Ronk now avoided her eyes, and Folklore walked back to her gate with a small, steady step, keys in her hand, the lawn behind her calm again. Reby had been counting down days for years until the last bank stamp showed 0 and the Summer Strand house was fully hers, and she stepped into that quiet morning feeling like she could finally breathe. Word spread slowly at first, neighbors smiled, and she planted 2 small ferns by the stoop, the kind of small, steady things people do when they want a home to feel lived in. Then Babalwa arrived with a loud group and a story about Kosa custom and young initiates needing rooms, and she spoke like tradition was a law that could rewrite a title deed. She called for meetings, for prayers at the gate, and she expected everyone to fall silent and agree. Reby did not shout back. She asked for calm and for papers. She brought the deed, the rate statements, the title number from the deeds office, and the bank letter that showed the mortgage was finished. Instead of a fight, she asked a respected traditional leader and a qualified conveyancer to meet them in the middle, a small, public mediation where everyone could speak and the facts could be set on the table. People came from the street to watch. The leader listened to the custom claim, and the conveyancer opened a folder and read aloud the paperwork showing the land was individual titled property and not part of any communal trust or tribal land. The documents were clear, the title number matched the deeds office records, and the leader nodded because the law and the custom could both be respected when you knew the difference. Babalwa left that afternoon but returned late at night with a few others and a makeshift ritual. They broke a window during a so-called cleansing and left palm branches in the yard. Someone rang Ryby's doorbell at dawn and said the house had been violated. Dai called the insurer and the saps right away. The police came, took statements, and the claim to the insurer recorded the damage, while the conveyancer and the traditional leader both confirmed in writing that the property was private. Photos, the mediation record, and witness statements built a short, sharp case. On the day the magistrate read the order, restitution was granted, the broken window had to be repaired at the instigator's cost, and there were clear instructions about access and respect for private land. Dai did not use the victory to punish. Instead, she turned the spare cottage into something public and hopeful. She announced a girls in STEM bursary and a small study hub where girls from the township could come after school to learn coding, math, and how to build things with their hands. The crowd that had once leaned toward Babalwa now cheered as girls tried simple circuits in the new room, and the message was simple: property rights protect more than walls, they protect chances. What had been a bid to take a home became a campaign to give more young women a chance to build homes of their own one day. Aking finished her last loan payment on a bright morning, and for the first time in years she felt free. She had built the Kilimani home while running a startup, sending payments from a business account and keeping every invoice and contract. That evening she sent photos of the cleared mortgage to a small group of friends and slept with the key under her pillow. The next week Wanjiru arrived with a stamped notice and a caution filed at Arti House, saying the house could not be sold because her brother had financed the build. The notice spread fast on WhatsApp and a few bloggers picked it up, writing sharp headlines that called Aking a fraud. People started to wonder. Aking did not shout or post angry replies. She opened her safe and laid out a simple, strong paper trail. She showed bank SWIFT logs that proved payments moved from her company to the contractor. She showed contractor invoices, signed delivery notes, and messages with builders confirming dates. She had a notarized equity split signed before marriage that named her percentage in the project. Each document had dates and numbers that matched. Her lawyer asked for a registry hearing to remove the caution. Meanwhile Wanjiru moved fast online, paying bloggers to share clips and to tag investors as if Aking had stolen money. The posts went viral because people love drama. But then a whistleblower messaged Aking with a file that changed everything. The file was a list of M-Pesa transfers showing cash moving from a small community fund into Wanjiru's account and then on to people who had been used as witnesses. The whistleblower sent screenshots, timestamps, and the phone numbers that matched names in the caution. Aking took the M-Pesa list to her lawyer and to the regulator at Arti House. When the registry hearing began, phones filled the room as neighbors streamed the legal fight. The registrar looked at the SWIFT logs, the invoices, the notarized split, and then at the leaked M-Pesa trail. The caution had been filed on shaky evidence and with hidden payments tied to Wanjiru. The registrar lifted the caution and named the person linked to the false claim. Outside, investors who had watched the drama unfold clapped when Aking walked out with her folio. She did not gloat. Instead she used the moment. She announced a tenant purchase scheme for young families who wanted to own a home in Kilimani but could not afford a big down payment. She had negotiated with a small set of investors that afternoon to convert a few units into rent-to-own, with low deposit plans and clear contracts. The crowd cheered because they saw a founder turn a fight into a plan that helped others. On social media the hashtag #KeysForKilimani trended for days, and people who had doubted her began to ask for the tenant purchase form. Aking handed out printed copies, smiled for a camera, and walked back into the house with a calm that felt like victory and a promise that others could follow. Mariam felt a light she had not known for years. The day she cleared the last bank stamp on her Kokodi villa, she cooked for friends, cut a small cake, and handed the new keys to her neighbor who had helped during the build. The next morning Awa arrived, calm at first, then sharp, holding a thick envelope and a notarized paper she said gave her family occupancy right to the house. People paused on the street. Mariam smiled and asked to see the document. Awa pushed it across the gate like proof that would end the party. Mariam did not shout. She pulled up the cadastre map on her tablet, handed the tablet to a neighbor, and pointed to the plot number on Awa's paper. The map showed the plot belonged to a different commune far from Kokodi. The paper did not match the coordinates, the sketch, or the folio Miriam had carefully kept. Awa grew flustered but did not leave. She tried the next move. She pushed past the gate and forced the door, yelling that the family had rights and the house should be open. A neighbor filmed with a phone and another called the court. Miriam had already spoken with a lawyer and had arranged for a huissier to be on call. Within an hour the bailiff knocked, law papers in hand, and began to write everything down. He photographed the torn gate, noted the time, and asked Awa to stand while he recorded her actions. The huissier's notebook and camera made the scene official. At the hearing the judge looked at the cadaster, at the folio in Miriam's folder, and at the notarized paper Awa had waved around. The judge found the occupancy paper pointed to the wrong commune and said the act of forced entry was illegal. The ruling was clear, Miriam's title stood. But the judge went further. Seeing that the claim had caused real harm to a woman who had worked years to own her home, the court ordered Awa to pay damages and to fund the neighborhood scholarship that Miriam had quietly started for local children. The announcement surprised everyone. Awa protested, but the bailiff's records and the map were plain. The outcome turned Awa's claim into something useful. The money she would have used to fight became a fund for schoolbooks and tuition. The crowd outside cheered when Miriam unlocked her front door and walked in, not with anger but with a quiet pride that made the whole street feel a little safer and a little kinder.